Now I'm going to dress the table with some forest and water features. My first generation of water feature, which is very simple. Most of my early generation table dressing simply consists of stretches of cloth that I found at thrift stores or in the bargain bin at fabric stores, and the edges have been serged off so that they're not going to fray anymore. So for our table purposes here, we're going to have a little line of forest that goes up on the tall hill towards the brow of it there, and then I have a larger piece of green cloth. I'll just run it around the edge of this hill out that way. I use the green cloth to represent exactly where the forests are. That way there's no arguments when miniatures begin to penetrate into where forest territory is or is not. It's very obvious when you're in a forested zone. You're either standing on top of the green cloth or you're not. We're going to throw a little river along here. Again, it's just a shiny blue cloth that's been serged on the ends so that it doesn't fray anymore. Now, to keep the dressing purposes of the table and get our forest picture, I have what I euphemistically call weeble trees. As you can see, they weeble wobble, but they don't fall down. It's basically a piece of foam that I dyed with green and blue ink. It was a dark gray foam cut to the shapes, rough shapes of the trees. This way I can place trees however and whatever I want. I have some larger ones. These ones aren't quite weeble trees. They do tend to tip over and stay fallen over, a little taller. But again, a large fender washer glued to the bottom of each of the trees allows it, just digging out a few more trees here, allows it to remain stable and standing upright. That sets out our forested area. The edge of the forested areas I dress with a dark green lichen. This one actually from the Black Forest in Germany. Lichen's a very interesting product. You can use it as low bushes or shrubs. It's still alive, of course, so you do need to moisten it. I usually do that about once or twice a year in order to keep it healthy and flexible. You might find lichen has been stuck on some other bases or products that people have made, and I've purchased one on eBay once that had lichen on it, but it had completely dried out. So unfortunately, it began to fracture and snap and break off. But as you can see, it doesn't take a lot of lichen to break up the edge surfaces of these forested areas and give a very quick look of being a live forested region. Behind me you'll see there's the sky cloth. I've got it in place so that you don't see my son's collection of magic cards and the filing cabinet that sits behind this area. You can see the development of this sky cloth and how all of its painting was done on the Murdoch's Marauders blog back in 2006. So there's our edging. And then in the center of the forested areas have two different plastic products that I use. One kind of as a stretched out packing material. These forests, of course, have been built this way so many times that it's now all of these foamy bits are infused with the clump material and little bits of lichen. It all gets to be somewhat mixed together. Again, just break it up. All you're attempting to do here is help to camouflage the green cloth so that when the camera sees it, you have to look really closely to tell that it's just a piece of cloth that's causing the darker green. Just sprinkle a little bit more of this out. And then for the river, the edging of it, again, we have a little bit more lichen. This is some very old lichen that I have. I think I've had this lichen for almost 12 years now. Still moist, still living, still performing its functions and duties. Of these break up the edges. You'll notice I'm not packing it really tight here along the river, simply because I have this forest is a darker green and the stuff I'm using on the river edge here is a lighter green, and I also have a limited amount of some yellow and red. And that gives some different color patterns into the table layout. There you have it, very quickly, a tabletop surface ready for miniature action that's somewhat of a pastoral view perhaps, with a river. Of course, you're not seeing it quite so beautifully. There's our river, some hills, and pretty much ready as a field situation. Now, we're going to increase this by bringing in somewhat of an urban environment.